All right, Matt Tabeek, the digital managing editor for Atlanta Falcons. He joins us, by the way, proud WVU grad there, Jeff Mosher. He joins us here on the Boardwalk Honda hotline as we get ready for Eagles and the Falcons. Matt, welcome back. How are you, pal?
Hey, guys. Good to be on. I'm not sticking my flying WV chest out too far, though. Not after
not this year.
Last weekend. But
no, I don't think you will be able to do it all year.
Yeah, I like Neil Brown, but Dana Holgerson left the cupboards bare, so to speak. So, it's going to take a little while.
It's ugly. Well, we know the last two times these two teams have met and we have talked, they have been ugly. It has been two low-scoring fistfights between these two teams. And is there any reason to think this time around that the games in Atlanta that might change and allow these two offenses that are usually pretty good to be more on display?
I don't know. I think it's going to be another fist fight, and I'm fine with that. I thought the last two games, even though they weren't pretty as far as lots of points being scored, they were fun games to watch, especially from a fan's perspective. Went right down, both the last two right down to the end. But it'll be interesting. With the indoor, with the roof closed, I think it's going to be closed, and the fast track, but. It'll be interesting to see what kind of crowd shows up in Atlanta too. But we think there's going to be a pretty decent crowd, so it'll be nice to play Philly in Atlanta, because the last three have been in Philadelphia. So, and the last three they've dropped. So
yeah, well, we know that at least last week. This is something I'm interested, Matt, to get your take on. The Falcons struggled on offense, though. They scored 12 points last week to the Vikings. And they lose Lindstrom on the line. It seemed from the game that I watched a little bit checking in and out was they did not protect Matt Ryan very well. That looked like it was a big problem.
Yeah, he was sacked 4 times, and so that's not acceptable, especially after you signed Jamon Brown and James Carper the first day of free agency. You drafted 2 offensive linemen in the first round. It was not pretty, and it just kind of snowballed. I mean, from the opening play, Matt Ryan was sacked, and then the punt block, and then just turnovers just killed him, and just uncharacteristic mistakes. They get down, second, goal, and Matt Ryan always, if he throws it away, he'll put it in the stands. It was the perfect storm. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, it seems. And even being down, even with the 3 turnovers plus the punt block, they were still in position late in the game to make it a game. And so, but then, they just shot themselves in the foot, and then they had a couple garbage scores at the end. But, no, I think, a lot of people are really disappointed, and I think most of those guys wanted to go back out and play again. It was kind of the feeling that they just they knew that they laid an egg and it wasn't pretty, and they're chomping at the bit to get back out there. That's for darn sure.
Matt, on the other side, it looked like they had trouble dealing with the Vikings running game. Dalvin Cook. I mean, all the Vikings did was really run. I've never seen an $84 million quarterback just completely, holstered the way the Vikings did that with Kirk Cousins. I wonder if that was a little bit of the element of surprise. I mean, everybody knows Gary Kubiak, but they haven't seen the Vikings run like that in quite a while. So I wonder if there was a little bit of an element of surprise on Atlanta's from their viewpoint on what Minnesota was going to do going into the game.
I'll tell you what, it was surprising. The sacks were surprising on offense, and just the defense too. Interior defense was okay, but what Minnesota did really well was they sealed off and got to the edge, and I'll tell you what, Dalvin Cook and the Madison, the rookie, they are 2 good-looking running backs, and let's give credit where credit's due too. I mean, Minnesota's a good team. They're stout. Their front 7 stout. Their skill position players, Thielen and Diggs, and the running backs are good. But yeah, that was really surprising. The 4 sacks were surprising, and the fact that they had so much success running the ball, especially getting to the edge and sealing off the edge. In the second half, the defense shored things up and really played much, much better. But yeah, you're right. That was surprising to see. And I'll tell you what, that and the turnovers. I mean, all three facets of the game, of the game for the Falcons, it was not pretty. I mean, there wasn't really anything that you could say, well, that went well.
Yeah, that surprised me because the one thing about the Falcons is we've seen over the years, and when healthy, and they are right now. I mean, guys like Keanu Neal and Deion Jones and Grady,
yep.
Jared, Vic, they're so fast and quick. This is not a brawny defense like the Eagles just saw with Washington and big 340-pounders, right? This is a fast, quick defense. It's always flocked to the ball really quickly. So I was very surprised to see how much they gave up in the run game there.
Yeah, you weren't the only one. So, yeah, there's really no excuses that I'm not going to hand you any excuses because we were all sitting here watching it too, going, "Wow, this is not what we expected." And Dan Quinn said as much too. Monday he's like, he was pissed. He used the word pissed. He used the word disturbing after the game, and so. And the thing that, really caught him off guard was the fact that they didn't do anything that they said that they were going to go out to do. So, I know he has their attention this week and look, it's one game, but I'll tell you what, this is a big game for Atlanta just because it is Philly. And you guys brought up what happened the last two games and just, because of the way they played last week, it's going to be a fight, regardless if Philly does even jump out to an early lead. I think Atlanta is going to be I can't say, but it would really, really surprise me if Atlanta doesn't come out and play well. It really would. They're healthy outside of Lindstrom. Jamon Brown's going to get the start at right guard, and Caleb McGarry played, half at right tackle, the rookie draft pick. He played a half at right tackle. Played well for the most part. There was one play, where he gave up a sack, but that was also because the tight end, I don't think, chipped him the right way. But look. Even the Falcons couldn't get the run game going. Not a lot well. I mean, everybody, you can point to every facet, and even the big players. Julio didn't have a very good game. He said as much. He said he didn't play well. Matt Ryan said he didn't play well. Devontae Freeman put the ball down on the carpet. He said he didn't play well. The defense said, they didn't play well. So in special teams, they didn't play well. I mean, it was really, really surprising. So, and they saw what Philadelphia did last week. They were down 17-0, came back, they got punched, and they responded. So, I just think Atlanta is going to be ready to go, and I think even if they were to get down because of what happened last week, it's not going to phase this team. I think they're going to fight 4 quarters, and but everyone knows Philadelphia is a very, very good team. They're very good defensively. Their offensive line is very good. Carson Wentz with Deshaun Jackson back there. Their tight ends, a two-headed monster. So, and then you got Jordan Howard too. I mean, everyone's expecting. No one is looking past Philly. In fact, everybody's just looking at this game right now because it's a big, big game.
Yeah, Matt Tabeek covers the Falcons, AtlantaFalcons.com, with us here on the Boardwalk on the Hotline. Eagles 30th against the pass last year. They got torched a couple times last week. I would imagine that's an area where they think that they can go after Philly is down the field. They haven't been able – how come they haven't been able to do it the last 2 times they've played? And would you imagine that that's where they think they can get Philly is through the air deep down the field?
Well, you got this guy named Fletcher Cox who's pretty good. And, if they're going to have any success getting it to those guys, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, who had a great rookie year, and Mohamed Sanu and even Austin Hooper, they've got to give Matt some time. They've got to protect. And so Philadelphia has just been so good up front, and that's been part of it. And so, they haven't given Matt a lot of time back there. So, the receivers are very good, but you've got to give them time to hit them. And so if you it's like anything else, you bring pressure up the middle, you bring pressure, period, the throws are going to be off, or they're going to be forced, or they're going to be at a bad angle, or you're going to take a sack. And so Philadelphia's done a very good job of disrupting that.
Hey, Matt, this was a team that did not make the playoffs last year after being in the playoffs the year before, and then, of course, having the heartache of the Super Bowl the year before that. What are the expectations for this Atlanta? Do people say, look, we're back, we're ready to be back in the playoffs and compete for a Super Bowl? Were the expectations high coming in?
Oh, absolutely. The expectations are very, very high because, no one in this building is ever going to say it, but injuries just decimated this team early on. That opening game against Philly, Deion Jones and Keanu Neal went down, and then Ricardo Allen went down, and then Grady Jarrett missed a little time, and you know what I mean. And then you lost both starting guards. But no one would ever use that as an excuse. But they feel like because of the players that got playing time last year, and because of what they did with the offensive line, and because they've got, their core back, the expectations are very high. They expect to compete for a division title, and they expect to, beyond that, make a postseason push. They've got a nice blend of veteran stars and veteran players and young players. And yeah, the expectation is definitely that now that they're healthy. And, with DQ calling the defense, there's, higher expectations that the defense is going to be better and more aggressive. And Dirk Cutter now, after Steve Sarkisian, and what he did in Tampa with that offense and his familiarity with Matt Ryan. And even they brought back Mike Mularkey, who was also an offensive coordinator here. It was Matt's first and had success here. So you've got a bunch of former head coaches here, plus Bob Sutton. And then, they brought in they have a veteran staff. They've got everybody back, and the expectations are very high for sure. And you know how fans are. You were just talking about how irrational they are. After one loss to a very good Vikings team. By the way, I think we're going to look back at that Vikings team as the season goes on and says, yeah, they were pretty good, and they are good. And look, I don't care what team, who you are. If you're Philly, if you're an 8-0 team or a 10-0 team, you turn the ball over 3 times and give the team, a very short field and block a punt. You're going to lose those games most of the time. And it's what happened. I mean, not to make excuses, but you just can't turn the ball over and expect to win, not 3 times. And that's what happened. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not surprising why they lost. It's pretty clear. They both had 10 possessions, and Kirk Cousins only threw the ball 10 times. He had, I think, 8 completions, 98 yards. He didn't have to do much except hand off.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. But that's what happened. And I don't think that they're expecting Carson Wentz to throw the ball more than 10 times. And,
I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. That'll be interesting, too, to see how because we didn't really get a good look at Isaiah Oliver, who's now, a starter. He's his second-year guy. He wasn't really tested. So I have a feeling that, the Falcons secondary will definitely see some more passes Sunday night.
All right. Matt Tabeek, AtlantaFalcons.com, covers the Falcons. And, of course, you can listen to Eagles and Falcons right here on 97.3 ESPN. The countdown to kickoff with Tony Bruno starts at 5 p.m. for the Sunday night football game. Matt, always a pleasure. Thanks so much, pal.
Hey, thanks for having me on. And, I don't know, it'll be fun to see if we play you guys a 4th time here next year. It seems like every year.
Every year, it seems like. And possibly the playoffs. We'll see. Matt Tabeek, AtlantaFalcons.com here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline.
They're going to move the Falcons to the NFC East pretty soon.
Well, it's like they're replacing the Bears. You mentioned them yesterday.
Right.
They played the Bears all the time.
There was that long stretch.